On today's episode of Feeding the Family, we'll be talking about reasons to start meal planning. I'm going to share with you my 5 reasons that meal planning can work for you and help your family have more successful, happier, healthier meals. Welcome to Feeding the Family with Dr. Kristin, where we help you navigate the challenges of feeding your family and learn about the role food plays in our health and relationships. Feeding and food relationships can be stressful, confusing, and even destructive. I'm Kristin a pediatrician and mother of 4 who's been researching and sharing what I've learned about feeding for over 10 years. In this podcast, I'll share my experience and expertise to help our kids and ourselves with everyday survival tips for real parents. This podcast is about progress, not perfection. So let's get started. Welcome back to Feeding the Family with Dr. Kristin. I'm your host, Kristin Saxena. On today's episode, we're going to talk about 5 reasons to start meal planning. We have some episodes coming up where we're going to interview some guests that are talking to us about different ways that you can meal plan. But personally, I always like to start with a why. I need some motivation if I'm going to put in some work. I know meal planning was something that became very important to me when my kids were really young and I was working full time. It actually became the only way that I felt like I could reliably get a decent dinner on the table. So today I want to share a few of my whys that meal planning is so important, and hopefully some of those will resonate with you. Reason number 1 is that meal planning saves you money. This might be more important than ever, as inflation has caused food prices to rise somewhere between 9 and 10% in just the last year alone. So I know for a lot of families I've talked to, this has been a huge concern. And some families I've talked to have said that they feel that the food that they normally buy, they're seeing price increases even above that 9 and 10% that we're talking about. So meal planning can be super important in terms of keeping you buying only the things that you're actually going to use for the food you're going to eat this week. So when you plan your meals, you're able to, number 1, create a list that you can stick to when you're at the store or online shopping. Also, if you do go to the store, you're able to go only once and buy everything that you need. Because if you're going every day, I think most self-respecting women out there know that if you go to the store, it's very rare to only go in and pick up what you need. I always seem to find 1 or 2 things that I think I need or look good at the time. But if it's something I'm not actually going to use in my weekly meal preparation, it ends up being a waste. The other thing that can be very helpful in terms of saving money with meal plans is that you're able to, in creating your plan, take a look at your own freezer and pantry and refrigerator and actually use the things that you have and that are in there. I know when I haven't been so good at meal planning, I've been very guilty of taking lots of things and storing them in my freezer. And before you know it, you've got this freezer that's just crammed full of extra meats and meals that never get used. And later you pull them out and they're some sort of frozen mess and you don't even recognize what they are, and into the trash they go. Same thing with produce. If I don't have a plan, I'll end up at the store with the greatest of intentions, buy tons of fresh fruits and vegetables. But if I haven't planned meals in which they're actually going to be a part of, they usually end up kind of a soggy mess at the bottom of the fridge. And again, you're literally throwing your money into the trash when you don't use those things. So now more than ever, I think that this is a huge reason that meal planning can be a lifesaver for a lot of families. Reason number 2 is that meal planning can save you time. So as we discussed before, when you've planned your meals out, you're usually able to consolidate your shopping, hopefully to maybe once a week, and you're not ending up in the grocery store every day trying to pick up something for dinner. It also prevents you from, I think every parent knows this situation where if you haven't planned out what you're going to make for dinner and you're trying to cook something at home, you end up with that sort of after-school rush to the grocery store, often with hungry after-school kids in tow, that can make grocery shopping take much longer than it does if you can plan it when you can squeeze it in as a solo activity. The other thing is that for me, one of the things that where it really saves time is that when I know what I'm doing the whole week, or at least I already know what I'm doing that morning, you're able to use things like your crock pot. And to me, the crock pot is probably like the best invention for families ever, because there's nothing more exciting than doing a little bit of dumping a few things into a pot in the morning and coming home and basically you have a meal already made for you. It's as though you had a mom at home making your dinner all day. So for me, things like that, as well as being able to batch cook and even prep when I have time. If I know for example, if I'm using half an onion in one meal, but I know I'm going to need it for tomorrow's meal, chop the whole onion, and then you've saved yourself that much time. And those things seem small, but they add up over time. And when you go to pull that stuff out, you know how grateful you are that you already did this. So do your future self a favor, save yourself some time in the future, and prepare those meals. Reason number 3 to meal plan is that meal planning sets you up for successful family meals. I know for me, this is probably the very biggest reason that I think meal planning is important. I know we've talked on plenty of episodes about the benefits to kids and parents of family meals. And as you know, it can have huge benefits for kids in terms of not only their nutrition and health, but also their emotional resilience and their academic performance. And lots of studies have shown that even for adults, there's huge benefits in terms of mental health and their own nutrition. So for me, anything that I can do that will increase my odds of having successful family meals is probably worth it. So the big way that I think that planning has helped me out is that in planning, what I normally do is take a look at the schedule for the week ahead. So my husband and I over the last few years have really converted to electronic calendars, or the calendars on our phone. And we've actually been able to bring our older kids onto these calendars too. And if you haven't done that already, totally a game changer, because you start to see what you're up to, what your spouse is up to, what your kids are up to, and it gives you a great idea all in one place what that week and what those evenings are going to look like. And so for me, that's probably one of the biggest things is you can look at that week and then you can realistically plan like how much time and energy am I going to have this evening? What time are we going to have to eat in order to all eat together? And so anyone with a busy family knows, sometimes that means maybe something early and it's going to have to be quick because after we get home from school, or maybe someone's late after practice, after school, and then someone else has an evening meeting or activity, tonight might be a night that we're just going to have to do something quick. If it's like a spaghetti and sauce night, that already. But when those kind of things kind of creep up on you, I think those are the days where it makes it hard to successfully make that happen. And so when you get to these situations, if you weren't anticipating it already being a busy night or knowing you're going to have to start working on dinner as soon as you get in the door, what often happens is you're not prepared. You don't have something that you can prepare quickly. And, you're hungry, your blood sugars get low, and you just don't have the energy to figure it out. And so those are the times where you may end up finding yourself in the drive-through lane on days that you didn't plan to or didn't want to. And that obviously will save not only your family's health and money by not having to go out, but allow you to have an enjoyable, successful family meal, even if it's one of those quick and easy meals that you pull out of your pocket. And I think it's a point worth reiterating that you really need to be realistic and honest with yourself in meal planning. This was a lesson I felt like as a new mom, I really had to learn the hard way. I guess I had a tendency when I first started meal planning. I love food and I love trying new things. And so I'd get really excited about finding new recipes, but I wasn't always realistic about the time and effort it would take to make some of those new recipes. So my advice to everyone, but really even new moms, or if this is something that you're just getting into, is be super realistic with yourself. Be very lenient with yourself, because I would rather say, let's just set the bar kind of low. Like pick meals that you absolutely know that, hey, I can totally pull this off. Give yourself several successes under your belt. And if you find like this is no problem and I think I could do more, then that's great. Like if you have a night that you have more time, well, maybe, if Wednesdays are a pretty free evening in your house, maybe that's the night that you try the newer or more complicated recipes. But it can be very stressful, and no parent needs more stress to feel like you're unable to get done what you would hope to get done. And nobody wants dinner to feel like a failure. We're supposed to be there to enjoy these family meals together. So I say, as we've talked about many times, the time together and the enjoyment together is even more important than the food. So obviously give a nod to the nutrition and the kind of food that you want to be providing your kids and your family, But more importantly, make sure that you're making it a stress-free, enjoyable experience and something that you absolutely know that you can get done on a realistic basis. Reason number 4 to meal plan is that it reduces stress, decision fatigue, and helps you to maintain that division of responsibility. So if you recall, we recently had Ellen Satter on our show, and she talked to us about something called the division of responsibility. The short version of the division of responsibility means that as a parent, your job is to decide when, where, and what to eat. And I think most parents know that what to eat can often be the hardest part of making dinner. I don't know about you, but I hate the question sometimes, what's for dinner, if I don't have a plan. It's like the most exhausting part is just thinking about it at times. So if you have a plan, it also means that when someone asks you that question, you're going to have an answer. What's for dinner? You can say, well, check the menu. I know a lot of families will even print out or have a whiteboard where they write the menu for the week. And that can even avoid that question because the people know exactly where to look. The other thing is especially if division of responsibility is something that you're kind of newly implementing in your family, I find that when it's pre-planned and you have that answer, it kind of becomes less negotiable in terms of what's for dinner. People just see the plan and it becomes easier for them to just kind of accept, well, it's Tuesday and we have tacos. So it seems more concrete, and I think it makes it a little bit easier to adhere to the division of responsibility in your plans. Also for me, when I started meal planning, one of the ways it really reduced stress was that I would find myself start to make a dinner or think that I have everything to make a certain meal for dinner, only to find out that I was missing one key ingredient. And there's nothing worse than having this meal halfway made and then trying to figure out how you're going to make hamburgers with no ground beef. Like, it's just a disaster. And so then you end up scrambling or wasting food. And I found that if I had just planned it out and was confident that I had everything I needed, things went a lot smoother and I was able to prevent that kind of stressful situation. The 5th reason to start meal planning is that meal planning actually helps you eat the way you want to. So when you write out a meal plan, you're much more likely to incorporate foods or plan to eat in a way that aligns more with the way that you actually want to eat. Now, for each person and each family, that might be different. You might be looking to incorporate more vegetables or consume less meat or eat a higher protein diet or eat a more environmentally sustainable diet. Everyone has different food values, but I find that if you fail to plan, you kind of plan to fail in terms of living up to those food values. For sure, meal planning helps you to incorporate more variety. And as we've talked about before, variety generally means a healthier diet. So if you're writing out a meal plan, it's very unlikely that it's going to be, chicken every single night or 6 pasta dishes that you planned for the whole week. So just by doing it, you're much more likely to incorporate a greater variety of foods, which not only translates to a healthier diet for you and your family over time, but also more fun. It's much more exciting to have a good variety in your day-to-day diet. And so meals will become more fun and it'll be a more exciting experience for your whole family. So to recap, starting meal planning can help you save money, save time, help you be more successful with family meals, reduce stress, and help you eat more healthfully and in line with your food values. I'm super excited for some episodes that we'll have coming up that'll talk about different ways you can meal plan. I think you'll find that not all meal planning needs to be the same, and that some methods work much better for some people and some methods work better for others. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and it's probably not as hard as you think. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Feeding the Family. I hope you're enjoying it, and if so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, make sure and check us out on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be posting a special bonus reason to go ahead and start those meal plans.